All right. Good afternoon. I'm Janice Gilley, Escambia County Administrator, and joining me here today is Escambia County Commissioner and Chairman Stephen Berry, Vice Chairman Robert Bender, Chip Simmons, Deputy Sheriff. We have Senator Doug Broxson, State Representative Alex Andrade. We have, I'm looking around, Dan Schiebler, and we also have City Administrator Keith Wilkins from the City of Pensacola. As many of you hopefully are aware, this is a bittersweet announcement today. It's sweet in the fact that our citizens are going to get the individual assistance that they so desperately need. Of course, it is unfortunate the reason for which they need it, Hurricane Sally, but we're very, very thankful to our federal partners for that individual assistance. Of course, I'd like to thank all of our federal partners, and I know that each of these speakers will also take that opportunity to thank those partners as we go along this afternoon. But what I specifically wanted to mention was that from an individual assistance perspective, the households in Escambia County are now going to be able to qualify for individual assistance for housing assistance, crisis counseling, disaster unemployment assistance, small business assistance, and disaster legal services and case management. FEMA is working to get this information for our region on their websites, so we would ask you to have patience with FEMA as they work through that. And then also, if you are interested, you may download a FEMA app, and they'll also that'll be a place for you to get updated information as you go throughout this process. I did want to mention that we have had a lot of partners that have come through here from the state over the past couple of weeks. The State Department of Emergency Management specifically provided us over 25 individuals that helped us with the assessments, the damage assessments of over 600 homes in the Escambia County area. And so we just want to thank them for that assistance, because without their assistance and partnership, we would have not been able to provide the information that we did provide to FEMA. And the division has committed to continue to provide us full-time staff in Escambia County and the region throughout the duration of this recovery effort for our citizens. One issue that I know that is very important to you all as we continue this recovery is debris removal. We have tried to provide graphics for you so that you can clearly see how the debris needs to be placed on your roadside. That debris, it's very important. We are looking at 90 days of debris removal, so I know that it's very concerning to have that debris out by your roads. I understand that. But please know that we are going to make several passes by your roads. And if they do make a pass by your road and they pick up, let's say, vegetation, and maybe they leave trees, tree stumps, or they leave what we call construction and debris, they will be back. There are different types of trucks and vehicles that come by and remove that debris for you. So don't be discouraged if they pick something up, but maybe not all of it, okay? They may not be picking up leaves and twigs, so be very prepared for that to still be left behind. They are picking up the large pieces of debris. If you would like to take your debris to a residential facility, we have 7 of those they're open 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. 7 days a week, and those locations are Lexington Terrace, Bars Field, the Equestrian Center. We have Park East at Pensacola Beach, John R. Jones, and also the Oak Grove landfill. So please use those as well. And as I said, we would ask for your patience. The County Commission and the Fire Marshal did yesterday enact a burn ban that started at 8 a.m. this morning. So that burn ban is in effect until further notice. So please don't burn. We are entering the dry season of the fall. As you know, as the debris has set there, it has gotten drier. So please protect everyone and do not burn. At this time, I'd like to ask our chairman, Stephen Berry, to come forward.
Thank you, Administrator Gilley. It's a little different mood being here today rather than last week. In between's been a lot of angst, but I'm thrilled to talk about the individual assistance portion of the FEMA declaration that we were successful in receiving this morning. When we got the notification, it hopefully will relieve some of the stress that our citizens and residents have been going through over the last 2 weeks. I think it's something that we certainly deserved, and I think it's fantastic news that it came. There's going to be 3 ways that our residents and citizens can apply. There's 1-800-621-FEMA. also disasterassistance.gov, as well as downloading the FEMA app on a smartphone and working through the application that way. Those are the only three ways. There's no paper form, but I believe the phone method is the method that's available for folks that may have different technology limitations. It was about 2 o'clock this afternoon, so barely an hour ago, that the website and the phone number, I went through a couple of test runs, hoping it would be the case before we had the press conference today to be able to say that it's up and running and live, and those things are now up and running and live. I've had multiple citizens just over the last 20 minutes have let me know that they've worked through the application. It's taking 15 or 20 minutes, whether you're doing it online or over the telephone. I'm hoping that everybody that's had uninsured losses over the last 2 weeks, whether they feel that they're a big potential recipient or a small potential recipient, there are millions and millions of dollars of uninsured losses, and I hope everybody takes the time to work through the application and see what they may be eligible for. It's not just for the structure of your home. You don't have to be a homeowner to be eligible. There are many different types of assistance in there, and I would hope everyone would take a second and work through the process. I believe my good friend Doug Broxton, State Senator, is going to mention many of our partners to thank, and I certainly agree with all of those. But I want to take a second. When last week we knew that there was an issue with the documentation, trying to document an appropriate amount of losses to be able to get this benefit for our citizens, we got a lot of support from our media partners, including but not limited to Channel 3, Pensacola News Journal, NorthEscambia.com. They helped early in the week get the word out to our citizenry that we needed pictures, videos, narratives, stories emailed to the county. By the end of Sunday, we ended up getting 1,600 of those emails with thousands and thousands of pictures in there, which that supplemented and added to the county case, I think, considerably. I want to thank the citizens for doing that, and I want to thank our media partners for getting those asks out there, as well as getting the story out there over the weekend that this individual assistance is something that our residents deserved and had every right to. And I think that had a lot to do with the good news that we got this morning. And lastly, one state partner that Administrator Gilley did not necessarily mention, but many of our close friend and one of my dearest friends, Clay Ingram, Executive Director of Volunteer Florida, they're going to be here next week. Now that we've received the individual assistance declaration, we're now eligible for Volunteer Florida type support. They're going to be here for the long-term recovery kickoff on Wednesday, and I think they're going to bring a lot of resources. They are the agency that administers the Florida Disaster Relief Foundation dollars, the nonprofit that receives tax-deductible contributions that are made to the state on behalf of different disasters that occur throughout the state. So they're going to have some of those financial resources able to work directly with citizens, as well as with agencies that are already here and supporting different nonprofits that are already here, where they may have been leaving in a week with some financial assistance through Volunteer Florida. Maybe we're able to keep that nonprofit agency here for an extra 2 weeks because they get a little bit of funds to continue the operations. But thank you, and again, for our partners here, thank you all for helping get the word out, and it did have a tremendous effect. And I believe next is my colleague, my good friend, Robert Bender.
Thank you, Commissioner, and thank you for all you did to help with this. I would say that this was truly a group team effort to help the citizens of Escambia County and the Florida Panhandle get this individual assistance. So this was your local, state, and federal officials and the organizations representing those. I don't want to steal Senator Broxton's time, but I really do want to thank Senator Broxton himself, Alex Andrade, J.R. Williamson, and all of our elected officials along the Panhandle. Also Congressman Matt Gaetz, Senator Scott and his staff, and then also Senator Rubio and his staff that have all helped us make our case. But as Commissioner Berry said, thank you to the citizens that took the time to take these pictures, send them in, and help us build our case on why we needed the individual assistance. This is unprecedented that we had to do something like this to receive the assistance. So really, you helped us help you. And so thank you for going through that and doing that. Also today, We did start our Escambia Cares Business Emergency Financial Assistance Grants. They'll be eligible for businesses of Escambia County who have lost revenue as a result of COVID-19 related circumstances. For businesses of 25 or fewer employees, grants will be awarded in the amount of $7,500. For businesses with 26 to 50 employees, grants will be awarded in the amount of $15,000. Applications will be accepted through Tuesday, October 6th at 8 p.m. You can apply online at myescambia.com/cares. Or to apply in person, visit one of the following sites during the hours of 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. weekdays and noon to 5 p.m. weekends during the application window at the Brownsville Community Center, the Century Branch Library, Florida SBDC at the University of West Florida, or the Studer Community Institute. I'd also like to talk a little bit about the bus route that is starting on Monday. We have announced a temporary bus route 20 that will connect between the Pensacola Bay Center and the Tiger Point Community Center. It'll run every 30 minutes. And then also starting on Monday, October 19th, for those employees that regularly, or those that need Route 61 that would go from Pensacola to Pensacola Beach, that route will resume, and more information will be available on that. And now I would like to introduce Santa Rosa County Administrator Dan Schiebler.
Good afternoon. I just want to echo some of the comments and remarks that have been made. Offering thanks to our federal partners who have come through with both the public assistance and individual assistance declarations for Santa Rosa County. Thanks to the many residents who took the time to fill out the damage assessment reports, to submit the pictures, to submit the videos. That evidence is what helped us make the case up the chain, and it wouldn't have been successful without your efforts. I want to also thank the state partners in DEM. They've been with us throughout the recovery phase and will continue to be so. So it's truly been a team effort, and it will continue to be so going forward. I also want to mention debris hauling, as Ms. Gilley mentioned, is a large endeavor. Over 1 million cubic yards of debris in Santa Rosa County. We're about a tenth of the way into that. Over 1,000 trucks have been run, but there'll be thousands more before we get it all picked up. It'll be 90 days, approximately as well, for Santa Rosa County debris, so don't be discouraged. We will get some more information out to you showing where we've been and where we plan to be in the next several days, so you can have that information available to you on the Santa Rosa County website, Santa Rosa County, santarosa.fl.gov. And with that, I will turn it over to our State Senator, Doug Broxson.
Thank you. What I'd like to do is go through the process, if you don't mind, to tell you how much of a challenge this was. There's no question that we received a soft no, or maybe even a hard no from FEMA about individual assistance. We don't quite understand that. Alabama, the 3 counties over there, was given it within 3 days. And I guess the analysis is they had to spell cat and we had to spell supercalifragilisticexpialidocious to get funding, and we did it. First of all, I want to thank the President. The President got the message. I think the letter we sent, I think Representative Gates and Senator Scott and Rubio absolutely went there on our behalf and told the story of what was not seen visibly as FEMA came in, but what was behind the doors of our citizens. Governor DeSantis, thank you for what you did. I also have to reach out to Jared Moskowitz, who we have been, his phone has a direct dial to the counties, because we have just absolutely been involved in him every step of the way, and he came through. But I'm most impressed with our 5 counties, Escambia, Santa Rosa, Okaloosa, Walden, and Bay, particularly Santa Rosa and Escambia. We came together And I think when I talked to the administrator of Okaloosa, John Halstead, today, said he'd never seen such unity in our 3 counties. And Janice Gilley and Dan put together a plan of how we would prosecute this, not make an application, but how we had to convince FEMA to recognize our tremendous need here in this area. And we cannot give enough thanks to the people of these counties who responded. And a lot of that has to do with what you asked them to do. I've never seen that before. I've never seen you go to the public and say, if you want help, you've got to help yourself. So listen, this has been a marathon. It's a little late, but people still have a chance to make an application. We're going to have the people here that will help them. And it's a credit to being part of the greatest part of the state of Florida, and that's the Panhandle. The people here are long-suffering, they're kind, they're generous to each other, and the stories that will be told about families helping families, neighbors helping neighbors will be told for months. So thank you, everyone, for what you did, and thank you to all our partners that helped make it possible. Now it's my great honor to introduce my good friend, Alex Andrade.
Thank you, Senator. And as probably most of y'all don't quite know or have firsthand knowledge of, is when you're a state representative in a situation like this on the front end, you're very much a role player. You're not in any kind of chain of command. So it feels a little silly for me to be at this podium, you know, compared to the people behind me who have been working their tails off. I'm not sure if Janice Gilley has been home since the hurricane, or Commissioner Bender, Commissioner Berry, but the people behind me right now have done such an amazing job of communicating their needs at the state and federal level to make sure that they get what they deserve and need for our constituents. You know, I think there was obviously some frustration with the delay in the declaration, but our federal delegation, they've all been here, they've toured damage, they've spoken with individuals and constituents, and they were able to relay that to President Trump's office and work that through FEMA with the assistance and the massive amount of work our counties had to do to actually get this done. So going forward, I think that one thing, while this is a big step, and this should provide hope for constituents going forward, this isn't going to be the end-all and be-all solution for recovery. We're facing a tough 6 months for Santa Rosa and Escambia County, and that's coming off a very tough 10 months. You know, starting in December 6th, you know, of 2019, going through COVID, through wildfires, tornadoes. I think our 2 county administrators here in Santa Rosa and Escambia County have had to do more work in their first few years on the job than I can imagine. So I just want to say thank you again to our federal delegation, to Congressman Gates, to Senator Scott, to Senator Rubio for doing everything they could to make sure that our area was taken care of. And I want to thank everyone down the line who actually has a seat out here at the EOC for playing their roles to the T and for doing an incredible job. And I think our sheriff's departments in both Santa Rosa and Escambia County don't get nearly as much credit as they deserve for doing what they actually got done, especially in the midst of the storm. There are stories of heroism that haven't been told fully yet, and you know it's going to take a while for us to unpack everything that occurred. But you know, the people behind me have been doing an incredible job, and I'm just appreciative that I've been able to assist when I can. So with that, I'll introduce the City Administrator for Pensacola, Mr. Keith Wilkins.
Thank you. Like the others, I'd like to thank Escambia County. They've done a yeoman's job in getting us here. The county commissioners and Administrator Janice Gilley did a yeoman's job in getting us to this point, and we're very thankful for that, the city is. And also, we're very thankful for the citizens who participated. As they've mentioned, this was a process that was really citizen-driven, organic, and the citizens came through for our area. And it's not just a want, it's a need. Early on, Commissioner and former city council person and former county commissioner Marie Young called me to her house, and she said, look at my neighborhood, look at my neighbors. Trees on roofs, trees through roofs, trees pinning cars to the ground. People couldn't get out of their houses, out of their driveways. And she said, something has to be done. We need the individual assistance. And that was about a week and a half ago. So it's been a long time in coming, but we need it. 40% of the households in our community are cost burdened or meet the criteria for federal assistance in housing. So we're not a rich neighborhood. We're a community, and the individual assistance is going to come in very handy for all of our citizens. I'd also just like to go through a couple of the points on the contractors in the city of Pensacola and our pickup. We're about a third the way through with the cleanup for the city of Pensacola. We have 70 crews out daily collecting 11 of our own and then 59 of our contractors collecting debris off our streets. And as Janice said, there's several routes. They're picking up different materials, different times, depending on where they can stage those materials. But they're doing a great job, and we really appreciate the help of all of our contractors. A reminder that recycling is on hold. We hope that will start again the end of this month, in late October. And the city of Pensacola has been closed. Our offices have been closed to the public since March because of COVID, and we'll be reopening our offices October 5th to the public. So you no longer have to communicate with us electronically, and we're very excited about that also. Our parks will be reopened, our community centers will be reopened. Parks are closed until we can make sure all of our trees are safe and secure for park users. We do have 2 community centers that are still closed, the Bayview Senior Community Center because of the vulnerability of seniors with COVID, and also the Theophilus May Center is remained closed because they are housing at that center. Gratefully, they're housing one of the volunteer crews, Rubicon, who's coming in to help our citizens with individual assistance. So we're very thankful for that too. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to Chief Deputy Chip Simmons. Thank you.
Thank you, Keith. If you're here expecting me to talk about looting and curfews, I'm not going to, because this is a good day. This is a good day. I heard Senator Broxton, I heard Representative Andrade talk about a soft no and a hard no, but it's still a no. Now, I'll be honest, I'm a little surprised. They don't live in our world where we go down a street and we see people's belongings out in the front yard. They don't go to a house where there's a barge in the backyard. They don't go to a house where a man comes out to me and says, can you help me get my wife with disabilities free from this home because of wind and the rain damage. We do a lot of talking about barges. We do a lot of talking about bridges. We do a lot of talking about FEMA. But we need to talk about individuals, because in the end, this is an individual storm. This is a storm about individual homes and individual families. I was driving through those families in those neighborhoods. And like I said, we pulled up there, and a man came out to me and he says, hey, I got one question for you. I said, what is that? And he said, where do I start? Where do you start? And he just stood there. I didn't have the answer. And he just stood there trying not to cry. And I stood there trying not to cry, so I drove off. But these are families that we're talking about. And I will tell you this, in every meeting that we have here with a group behind me and the state representatives and the state officials that come here, all they talk about is individual assistance. They were on the phone, they're talking about it and working at it. And I'm proud to be part of that. We do our part in the sheriff's office, but we also rely on the county and the state and our federal authorities to do the right thing. And the right thing is individual assistance. And now maybe we can tell that gentleman, well, where you start now is with this individual assistance. And again, today's a good day, and I'm proud to say that today is a good day. Thank you.
Thank you. So one more time, I would like to thank our nearly 1,000 county employees that spent the last couple of weeks working to try and get us past response into recovery. I've mentioned before the building inspectors that spent 11 days going through every property in the county, trying to ensure that we had properly recorded those that were destroyed, those that were damaged, those that had been affected and impacted, sharing that information with the FEMA and with the State Department of Emergency Management. Those employees are very integral, and I hope one day you know their names. We've also had our Public Works Department cleaning up debris, making sure they cleared the roadways. And then we've also had neighborhood services, providing social services, and then our CIC, which is behind this wall that you all can't see, but they're still there answering calls, trying to help our citizens get more information. They will be available again tomorrow to answer those calls. And then I also want to make sure that you're aware that tomorrow we are going to be holding a joint press conference with FEMA, and that at that time, it'll be at 3 p.m. We are hoping to provide you with every bit of information that you need to know to get you started. The locations where the recovery centers will be, as they're continuing to do their analysis of the right location for our citizens, and then also the information that Commissioner Berry shared with you as to how you would contact. I would just mention this one thing. It was either the night before the storm or the night of the storm. It would be hard for me to completely remember now. But I made the comment to you that all of us, we knew that the storm was coming. We knew it was going to be a little bit worse than we had thought. But that all of us were in the boat rowing the same direction. I'm standing before you today, 14 days later, 15 days later, and we're still in that boat rowing the same direction. And I think because this team has worked so closely and so tightly as a group, there's not been dissension, not one bit of dissension with anybody here from the local, the state, and our federal partners on trying to get this help for our community. That is a huge testament to the way we work together and the way our community responds to these types of disasters. So with that, we would welcome your questions.
Is there a cost estimate of the damage for individuals? Is it broken down by counties? I mean, how do you determine how much assistance will be provided?
So I would say that I would have to let FEMA answer that question from that perspective unless someone else has the answer at this time. I know that our estimation, our preliminary estimation, was that we were looking at over $126 million in private structural damage. But like I said, that's a preliminary estimate. So it would be up to FEMA to determine in the end what assistance they're able to provide the individuals.
Janice, can you talk about, the senator mentioned the soft no or the hard no. Why?
I don't know that we necessarily have an answer why, but what I would say is this. When the declaration was made for the state of Florida, that there were 13 counties involved in that declaration. And so that puts a very high bar in terms of what you have to determine as your level of damage. Now, we in Escambia County and Santa Rosa, we clearly met not only the bar for our counties, but the bar for the state requirement pretty quickly. And so I would just say that FEMA and the state wanted to be very clear in terms of the damage assessment, and they wanted to make sure that they had given every county the opportunity to have the assessment done before they made some final decisions. So I think that the number of counties involved could have been part of the issue, but maybe one day we'll know, but we're just thankful today that we don't have to worry about that anymore.
I believe you touched on there'll be more info tomorrow about the recovery centers, and I think Administrator Wilkins mentioned Rubicon, but just for people who this might be their first disaster, could you talk a bit about the recovery centers and why they're important? Because I think that allows people to kind of go to a person and handle the issue.
Yes, so the Recovery Center is a place where you can actually go and visit. I know that Commissioner Berry mentioned all the ways that you can reach out and talk to them electronically and by phone and things like that. But a Recovery Center is also a place, if they've lost all of their paper, right, or all of their tangible documentation, Recovery Centers are a place where you can actually go and visit with them and find out all the services that are available and how you can then provide that documentation to them in a way if you've lost it all. So that's one thing. The other thing is the county would like to be part of making sure that our citizens are served at those. So we're looking to also have county ambassadors at those recovery centers so that they will know that the county's also still helping them from that perspective.
Jen, could I say one
Oh, yeah.
thing?
I want to make this is kind of the underbelly of what happens when FEMA comes in, but be careful. This is not free money. This is money to reimburse your loss. If we've got any people out there that want to create a claim, there's a second phase to FEMA, and that's their auditors who will come in, not only deal with the counties, but they'll deal with individuals. We saw in Hurricane Michael, unfortunately, tremendous fraud and abuse, and there's indictments that are pending over there now. We do not want our citizens to go to jail for doing things that they should not do. So if you have a need, make an application. But don't do something that will put you and your family in harm's way, because there will be a day of accounting, and they'll be here, not tomorrow, but they'll be here next year and the year after to look at what the applications look like and make sure that we spent. I believe that FEMA is exhausted with some disasters that's occurred around the country. And there's been a lot of abuse. This is taxpayers' money, and they want to make sure that every dime they spend is spent for people that are in need.
Senator, I got a quick question for you. I appreciate everybody's effort of getting this back on track, and especially with FEMA and everything. But right now, after 15 days later, like me and him been out there still giving water and ice to some of these people that have no power whatsoever, they feel like they're left in the dark after all this time. When are you, the commissioners and everybody, going to walk down those neighborhoods to reassure them that they're still here?
I think you'll see a change tomorrow when FEMA comes back. Now they're not looking for evidence like they did the first time. The reality is that the declaration has been made at the highest level and signed by the president. You'll see a change in the help that these folks will get, and I believe it will start tomorrow if they have a need.
I have a question for you. Nope, yep. She's like, oh Lord, I know Eric. Will we be able to get some more water and ice to some of these neighborhoods? Because like I said, they have no power. In fact, some of them can't even watch what's going on, like what you're offering them and everything else. So they're not going to be able to find this online until later. What can we do to reach out to these people to give them the information they need when they don't have any power to that?
So we do have an ESF that can continue to help with social services. So if you would make sure that we have those addresses. We do still have thousands of volunteers that are in our community that are working to provide cleanup, mucking, tarping, and things like that. And one of the programs that we will have will also be the Operation Blue Roof, is my understanding. That's one of the programs. But from an actual community standpoint, if you can specifically let us know which neighborhoods, I will make sure that our folks have that information.
Janice, this goes for anyone. There's generally a lesson learned after a disaster like this. Have we learned our lesson yet, or are there things that we're trying to correct for future disasters?
So we're having what you call a hot wash at the end of this week. We're trying to do it while everyone's still fresh, right, in terms of lessons learned. What I would say is this. Mother Nature is something that you really shouldn't play with. And so I think that we will continue to make sure that whenever we make these announcements in the future that we are just as forceful as we were last time, but perhaps maybe we'll make them more forceful, right? We'll say maybe instead of every 30 minutes, we say every 15 minutes, we need you to evacuate, we need you to evacuate, we need you to evacuate. We fortunately didn't have any loss of life, right, from that storm. But unfortunately, because of Mother Nature, it's very difficult to know the extent of the loss of property. And so, even though we evacuated folks, we had folks that need to be rescued and things like that. I would say that being able to protect from all property loss is probably just not going to be a reality. So protecting life, health, and safety is our number one goal every time. And so we will continue to push that. And like I said, maybe we'll need to push it every 15 minutes instead of every 30 minutes in the future. And I'm welcome.
If I ask you what's next, I guess the hot wash would be the first thing, right? We'll move from there.
Yes, I would say the hot wash. And I think Representative Andrade and I were having a conversation earlier about some folks that are a little bit more environmentally conscious in terms of sea level rise and things like that. And I think those are conversations that our community needs to continue to have, because I think that's one of the things that we saw this time, not necessarily specifically sea level rise, but what we saw was the city and the county had made substantial changes after the 2014 floods. The city administrator will tell you that they had 18 stormwater situations that failed in 2014, and none of them failed this time. What happened was we had such a storm surge that the water that came from the north and the other the tributaries couldn't get out. Right? So I just think that I do think we need to have a conversation as a community about those kind of things and how to properly protect our property from those, from that, what I would say is some rise.
Obviously, you all can't speak for FEMA, and I'm sure you can't make any guarantees, but, just from previous experience in the flooding and the tornadoes in Century, how long does it take for citizens to typically see this assistance from FEMA? Are we talking weeks, months, next year? Do you have any idea?
Yeah, I think Commissioner Berry can answer that, but we have already heard from some folks in Alabama that have already received their checks. So.
Thank you, Janice. Just based on the tornado in Century and the flood from 14, once somebody worked through the process and had an approved, they make an application, then someone's going to kind of certify that the information provided in there is accurate. Once that was certified, the checks were cut very quickly. Well, I say metaphorically, the checks were cut. Normally, the funds were direct deposited, and I saw it within 5-6 business days of the application being made. That wasn't uncommon, and saw a lot of it within a week or week and a half. A large majority. Some of the ones that may have drug on a little bit might have had an issue with the application. We're verifying the losses, trying to document something where they may have lost some of their records, and and while I have the microphone, just want to reiterate the need for folks to take the time and call and make the application. Don't think if you don't have the maximum direct assistance, I believe is going to be right about $32,000 again for uninsured losses. At least the maximum direct assistance, and I just don't want people to think that they have to approach that number or more to really make an application. In 2014, we had 7,000 approved applications that totaled about $35 million. So I believe that's going to make an average award of about $5,000. So it didn't, FEMA is interested in everybody. Now that we have this, as Senator Broxton mentioned, you'll see a tremendously different, in my opinion, you'll see a tremendously different attitude from the folks that are here starting, whether it's tonight or tomorrow. Now it's not going to be, they're not going to be viewing the losses and what's happened, I don't think, with a critical eye, trying to evaluate what the maximum financial loss might be in, kind of just an analytical way. They'll see empathy from the people that are here. They'll see a willingness to want to help. And if it's anything like those two disasters relatively recently, they're going to see people that are walking up and trying to engage them. What can we do to help you at least start to recover? So I'm very excited about what tomorrow brings now.